Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment quiet chilling when you realize you've been swallowing your pain just to keep the peace. Smiling through discomfort, laughing at insults, nodding while your soul screams number. That moment is the most dangerous one because it's where self-respect starts to rot beneath the surface of silence. Let me ask you something. How many times have you let things slide because you didn't want drama? How many times have you convinced yourself maybe it's not a big deal just to avoid confrontation? But here's the truth you need to hear, and it might sting. What you allow is what will continue. And some behaviors, no matter who they come from, how long you've known them, or how much you love them, must be met with a hard, unwavering number. This isn't about being harsh. It's about being honest, about drawing lines so your peace stops bleeding at the hands of people who were never meant to hold your heart, your energy, or your future. Because the most dangerous thing you can do is get used to being disrespected. It always starts subtly. A comment passed off as a joke. A side glance when you talk about your plans. A chuckle that stings harder than an insult. You speak your dreams out loud and they smirk. You talk about something you're passionate about and they roll their eyes. You dare to believe in something bigger for yourself and suddenly you're met with sarcasm masked as advice. Come on, be realistic. That's never going to work. Don't get your hopes up. They'll tell you they're just looking out for you, that they don't want you to get hurt. But pay attention. The people who love you don't plant seeds of fear in your mind. They water the fire in your heart. When someone consistently belittles your vision, mocks your ambition, or finds a way to dim your light every time it shines too brightly, that is not tough love. That is not being practical. That is a person who feels threatened by your potential. It's a person who can't handle your growth because it reminds them of how stuck they are. And instead of leveling up with you, they try to drag you down and clip your wings before you even learn to fly. You weren't born to be small. You weren't built to shrink just to make others feel more comfortable. And yet so many people end up doing exactly that. Walking with a smaller stride, speaking in a quieter tone, taming their fire, not because they want to, but because someone made them feel like their dreams were too much. And the tragedy is, the more you hear it, the more you start to believe it, the more you let those voices echo inside your head, the more they replace your own. You second-guess your instincts. You hesitate on things you once felt excited about. You tell yourself, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should settle. But I want you to ask yourself something brutally honest. What would you have already accomplished if no one had ever made you feel small? Where would you be if you had silenced the doubt and fed your belief instead? People often think betrayal comes from enemies. But the worst betrayal, it comes dressed as laugh. It wears the face of a friend. It smiles while telling you you're not enough. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse that sabotage for wisdom. You don't need people who play devil's advocate every time you share a goal. You don't need someone to poke holes in every plan, laugh at every idea, or warn you of failure before you've even taken your first step. What you need are people who say, that's boldened. I believe you can do it. You need people who ask, how can I help, not why would you even try? Because here's the truth. People who are secure in themselves do not feel the need to tear others down. People who have done something meaningful with their lives are usually the first to encourage others to try. It's the ones who gave up on their own dreams that want to see you give up on yours. Misery doesn't just love company. It demands it. And if you think tolerating it is harmless, think again. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around someone who doubts you and you'll start doubting yourself. And before you know it, your dreams denote because they were impossible. But because you let someone convince you they were, you have to protect your mind like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. Your future, your peace, your purpose, all of it is shaped by the people you allow to speak into your life. And when someone's words consistently make you feel less, make you doubt more, make you want to hide instead of shine, that's not someone who deserves a seat at your table. Don't let sarcasm become the soundtrack of your journey. Don't let mockery become the filter through which you view your own potential. And don't let anyone, no matter how close they are, convince you that dreaming big is foolish. You were not given this vision by accident. It was planted in you for a reason. And no one else needs to understand it. No one else needs to believe in it. They don't have to see what you see. You do. Because there's something tragic about watching someone with mountains inside them act like they're only meant to crawl. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life editing your dreams to fit inside someone else's fear. So protect your fire. Speak your dreams loudly. And when someone tries to laugh at them, don't shrink, stand taller. Sometimes disrespect doesn't come in the form of yelling or name-calling. It doesn't always slam doors or leave bruises on the skin. Sometimes it's quiet. It comes in the form of silence, in the way your messages go unanswered. Even when you know they saw them, it shows up in forgotten plans. In the way they cancel on you at the last minute. Again, it lives in the empty promises. The casual disregard. The way they look at their phone while you're speaking your truth, that's disrespect. And it's every bit as damaging as the louder kind. It's the way someone makes you feel like your time doesn't matter, like your presence is optional. You show up fully for them, but when it's your turn, they're half present, distracted, dismissive, distant, and at first you brush it off. You tell yourself they're just busy. That maybe you're expecting too much. But deep down a part of you starts to dim, because whether they say it out loud or not, their actions are screaming one painful truth. You don't matter as much to them as they matter to you. And that realization stinks. Not because you need constant validation, but because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves to be heard. To feel like they're not invisible in the life of someone they care about. But when you're constantly treated like a background character in a story where you should be co-leading, you begin to question your own worth. You start showing up smaller. You stop asking for what you need. You shrink not because it feels good, but because it feels safer than being ignored. You start to silence yourself. You downplay your emotions. You become afraid to speak up because the last few times you did, you were met with indifference or worse, irritation, and little by little that kind of treatment carves a hole in your self-respect. You start calling it love or friendship because it's been around so long you mistaken familiarity for loyalty. But let's be clear, loyalty that only flows in one direction is not loyalty, it's servitude. You can't keep making excuses for someone who consistently chooses to overlook you. Someone who never asks how you're doing, but expects you to be there every time they fall apart. Someone who never shows up to celebrate your wins, but always finds time when they need your energy, your comfort, your effort. This kind of one-sided presence is not care, it's convenience. And the longer you allow it, the more it becomes the standard by which you measure all your relationships. The scariest part, you'll start to think it's normal. You'll start to believe that being treated as an afterthought is just part of life. You'll lower your expectations, not out of maturity, but out of emotional survival. You'll convince yourself that your needs are too much, that maybe love really is about giving more than you get. And so you give and give and give until there's nothing left for yourself. But let me tell you something you need to remember. The next time someone shrinks you with their silence or makes you feel unseen, you are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are not a burden. You are simply surrounded by someone who doesn't know how to value something real. And it's not your job to teach them. It's your job to protect yourself. Disrespect doesn't always come in waves. Sometimes it's a slow drip. You barely notice it until you're drowning in the weight of unmet needs and unspoken pain. But just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's harmless. Just because they're not yelling doesn't mean it's not hurting. Some of the deepest wounds come from the people who never raise their voice because they never raise their presence either. Respect is not a luxury. It's a minimum requirement, and if someone can't offer that, no matter how close they are, no matter how long you've known them, no matter how much history you've built together, it's time to reevaluate why you're still offering them front row seats in your life. You deserve effort. You deserve consistency. You deserve the kind of people who look you in the eyes when you speak, who remember the things you say, who reach out not just when they need something, but because they genuinely care. You deserve to be chosen, not tolerated, to be prioritized, not penciled in when it's convenient. The world is full of people who will see you, who will hear you, who will match your energy and lift you higher. But you won't find them if your arms are full, holding on to those who treat you like an option. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is releasing the people who only respect you when it suits them. Because peace isn't found in people who drain you. It's found in the courage to stop pouring into cups that never pour back. There's a kind of control that doesn't yell, doesn't threaten, and doesn't push, it pulls. It's subtle, strategic, and soaked in guilt. It shows up with a sigh when you say no, with a sad look when you try to choose yourself. It wraps its hands around your heart and squeezes just enough to make you question whether your independence is selfishness. This isn't love. This is emotional manipulation. And it's far more common than we like to admit. It starts innocently. A favor here, a sacrifice there, and before you know it, your kindness becomes currency in someone else's emotional economy, or do something for them and it's appreciated. Then the second time it's expected. The third time it's demanded. And when you finally push back even a little, you're met with silence, guilt-tripping, or a string of "I guess you don't care" or lines that make your stomach twist. Stomach twist. They won't yell. No, they'll whisper disappointment. They'll bring up everything they've done for you, everything they gave, everything they let slide, and you'll sit there paralyzed by the weight of their sacrifice, forgetting for a moment that love, real love, isn't supposed to be a scoreboard. It's not a ledger of favors. It's not an emotional loan with interest. But this kind of manipulation doesn't care about fairness. It feeds on your empathy. It knows you're the type of person who doesn't want to hurt anyone, who avoids conflict, who wants to keep the peace even if it costs your voice. And so it keeps pressing gently. Just enough to keep you doubting your own intentions. You'll start asking yourself, am I being selfish? Should I just do it to make them happy? Maybe I owe them. That's when it wins, because now you're not acting from freedom. You're reacting from, and slowly your own needs begin to feel like burdens. Your boundaries begin to feel like betrayals, and your identity begins to blur. Not because it's gone, but because someone else keeps drawing over it with their own expectations. The worst part is that people who use emotional manipulation aren't always aware they're doing it. Some do it because it's how they've learned to get love, through guilt, through pressure, through leverage. But intention doesn't erase impact. Even if they're not trying to hurt you, the result is the same. You end up carrying emotions that don't belong to you. You become the one apologizing for needing space. The one saying, sorry for having opinions, the one tiptoeing around someone else's emotions like they're made of glass. While yours shatter silently in the background, you begin to wear masks, smile through frustration, laugh to avoid crying, and call it compromise. But it's not compromise if you're the only one bending. That's submission. That's surrender. That's losing yourself piece by piece under the weight of someone else's narrative. You can't thrive in a space where love is used as leverage. Where affection is conditional, where "I love you" is followed by "you should do to." That's not a relationship, it's a transaction. And if love only shows up when you're agreeable, when you say yes, when you sacrifice, then it's not love at all. It's control, painted with kind words and sweet gestures that rot beneath the surface. You deserve more than that. You deserve a love that doesn't manipulate your empathy, a connection where no is respected, not punished, where you can express your truth without fearing emotional withdrawal. You deserve to be with people who don't keep score, who don't guilt trip you into obedience, who don't cry on command just to make you feel like the villain in your own story. And don't misunderstand. This isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about recognizing when your compassion is being turned into a leash. It's about learning the difference between healthy compromise and toxic control, between understanding and emotional blackmail, between love and dependency. The truth is, people will take as much as you give them, especially if they've learned that guilt is a successful strategy. And if you don't recognize the game, you'll keep playing it. You'll keep apologizing for things you didn't do, agreeing to things that don't feel right, and living a version of your life that was never truly yours to begin with. At some point, you have to look in the mirror and ask, whose life am I living? Whose emotions am I carrying? Whose expectations am I dying to meet? While mine go unmet, and when the answer feels heavy, you know it's time to change, because you are not a puppet for someone else's moods. You are not a punching bag for emotional projection, and you are not responsible for managing the insecurities of people who refuse to take accountability for their own healing. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. It requires you to stand in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's misunderstood, even when it cost you a connection that never truly honored who you were in the first place. There's a kind of love that doesn't heal. It haunts. It keeps you guessing, keeps you waiting, keeps you wondering where you stand. One day you're their world, the next you're just someone they used to know. They come close enough to ignite you hope, but stay distant enough to never give you certainty. It's a game of hot and cold. And the worst part is you keep playing because every once in a while it feels like love. They disappear without warning. Then reappear with charm. Their absence burns, but their return feels like rain on dry earth. You crave them. Not because they treat you right, but because they give you just enough to keep your heart starving for more. Every time they go silent, it hurts. Silent, it hurts. But every time they come back, you forgive. Not because they deserve it, but because you miss the version of them they showed you in the beginning. This is not affection. It's addiction. Emotional inconsistency is a powerful drug. The highs are euphoric, but the lows are brutal. And over time, your nervous system begins to confuse chaos with connection. You start to believe that real love is supposed to hurt. That passion must come with pain. The deep down this is what feel like. But that's not destiny. That's dysfunction. You weren't born to beg for breadcrumbs. You weren't created to wait by the phone to read into every delayed reply to question your worth, based on someone else's temporary tension. Love should not feel like a test you keep failing. That shouldn't have you pacing the room, checking your phone every 5 minutes, rewriting text just to sound cool enough, calm enough, light enough, not because that's who you are, but because you don't want to scare them off. But the truth is, if you have to dim your light to keep them from running, they were never meant to stay. And if they come and go as they please, leaving you to pick up the pieces each time, that's not freedom. They're not giving you space. They're giving themselves permission to treat your heart like a revolving door. This kind of behavior trains you to live in limbo. You're never sure if you're being too much or not enough. Start to walk on eggshells, trying not to say the wrong thing, trying to be more chill, more understanding, more patient. But all it does is make you smaller. You end up molding yourself into the shape of their comfort while slowly losing the shape of who you really are. That is not love. That is emotional instability. And it will drain your spirit. It will make you doubt yourself in ways you never did before. You look in the mirror and wonder when you became this version of yourself, so quiet, so unsure, so desperate for validation. And yet part of you clings to the idea that one day they'll see your worth. One day they'll stay. One day they'll be consistent. But here's the hardest truth to swallow. People who want to stay, stay. People who want you don't confuse you. Love that is real doesn't vanish when it's inconvenient. It doesn't punish you with silence. It doesn't play hide and seek with your heart. And I know. It's hard to walk away from someone when the best parts of them still live in your memory. When you replay the promises, the late night talks that felt so real, so raw, but memories are trickster. It keeps showing you the highlight reel while you keep enduring the reality. There comes a point when your healing demands you to stop romanticizing what they were and start facing what they are. Not potential, not possibilities, but patterns. And if the pattern is inconsistency, unpredictability, and pain, you must choose yourself, because love is not supposed to make you question your value. It's not supposed to come with a timer or a trap or a ghost on the other end of your vulnerability. Love shows up, huh? It stays. It reassures. It communicates. And when it's real, you don't have to chase it. You meet it halfway. The people who are meant for you will never weaponize their silence. They will never use distance to punish you or inconsistency to keep control. They will not make you question if you matter. Every time life pulls them at a different direction. You deserve peace, a connection that feels like home, not a battlefield. You deserve someone who chooses you daily, not just when it's convenient or when they're lonely or when they've run out of distractions. You deserve love that's consistent. Love that's clear. Love that's real. Not love that hurts more than it heals. Some people hurt you not with fists, but with words wrapped in sarcasm, disguised as jokes or whispered behind your back when they think you won't hear. They strike with passive aggression, twist your words, or bring up your past mistakes like weapons. And you're left wondering, was that supposed to be funny? Was it really just a joke? Am I overreacting? But deep down, something in your chest tightens. Not from what they said, but from how they made you feel. There's a kind of pain that doesn't come with bruises, but with a slow erosion of your spirit. When you're constantly around someone who belittles you, mocks your goals, questions your intelligence, or downplays your emotions, it starts to plant seeds of doubt inside you. You begin to question your instincts. You silence your opinions. You feel smaller, even if they never once raised their voice. That's how emotional abuse works. It doesn't always explode. Sometimes it leaks in drop by drop hand until you're soaked in shame, fear, and confusion. They might laugh it off, call you too sensitive, or accuse you of making a big deal out of nothing. But when someone repeatedly makes you feel worthless, inferior, or afraid to speak your truth, it's not a joke. It's a tactic, and no one should ever tolerate it. You tell yourself they just stress test, that maybe they didn't mean it. That maybe you're the one with the problem, but abuse thrives on that silence. It counts on your willingness to explain it away, to keep the benefit of the doubt while your self-worth quietly disintegrates. Over time, the cruel words start to sound like facts. And the worst part, you start repeating those words to yourself. You start believing you're not good enough, not attractive enough, not smart enough, not lovable enough. And you wear that belief like armor, thinking it will protect you from future hurt when all it really does is keep you trapped in the cycle. You stop dreaming out loud. You stop defending yourself. You even stop sharing your happiness because somehow they always find a way to ruin you. Maybe they say you're too ambitious. Maybe they say your ideas are unrealistic. Maybe they mock the way you speak, the way you dress, the way you think. And slowly you stop showing up as you. Not because you want to, but because their words have trained you to shrink. Sometimes it's not even what they say, it's how they say it. The condescending tone, the eye rolls, the way they ignore you in front of others but expect you to cater to them in private. Or the constant reminders of how lucky you are to have them, as if your worth is measured by their approval. That's not love. That's power. That's someone trying to keep you beneath them so they can feel bigger. And it doesn't just harm your heart. It rewires your mind. You start to anticipate criticism before you even speak. You brace yourself before expressing joy. You flinch emotionally every time they walk into the room because you don't know if you'll get kindness or cruelty. That's not a relationship. It's a battlefield. And every time you choose to stay silent to keep the peace, you declare war on yourself. But let me say this clearly. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. Your feelings are valid. You do not have to justify your right to respect. You do not have to earn kindness from someone who claims to care about you. If someone truly loves you, they will uplift you, not tear you down. They will build you, not break you. They will speak life into your wounds, not solve them with insults. There's a quiet kind of strength in walking away from someone who refuses to treat you with basic decency. It's not weakness to protect your peace. It's not selfish to demand respect. It's survival. It's dignity. And no matter how long you've tolerated emotional abuse, it's never too late to say enough. Because the longer you stay, the deeper those wounds become. And one day you wake up and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The spark is gone. The laughter is forced. The light in your eyes is fading. And that's when you know this isn't love. This is eraser. This is emotional extinction. And you were made for more than that. There's a kind of energy that walks into your life not to grow with you but to drain you. A person who doesn't come to love, support, uplift you, but to take. Every conversation feels one-sided. Every moment feels like a transaction. They don't see you as a soul, but as a resource, someone to fix their chaos, someone to constantly reassure them, validate them, rescue them. And the more you give, the more they take without ever giving back. You become their emotional first aid kit, their motivational speaker, their fallback plan. You're the one they call when they're down, but you'll notice something. They're never around when it's you who needs a hand. They disappear when you're struggling. They're silent when you're hurting. But when they need you, suddenly you're expected to drop everything. You're expected to show up, to care, to fix what they've broken for the 100th time. This is not love. This is emotional dependency disguised as connection. And it will suffocate you if you let it. Because what starts as empathy quickly becomes responsibility. You begin to carry their weight, their moods, their burdens as if they're your own. You think you're helping. You think you're being loyal. But what you're really doing is bleeding for someone who won't even offer you a bandage. It's exhausting to be someone's everything when they're never willing to be anything for you. And yet many people stay in these dynamics because they confuse sacrifice with love. But sacrifice without reciprocation isn't love. It's self-abandonment. It's emotional labor with no return. It's a one-way road that leads straight to burnout, resentment, and loneliness. What's worse is how these people make you feel guilty for having boundaries. The moment you say no, the moment you protect your time, your energy, your peace, they act wounded. They accuse you of changing, of not caring, of being cold. They twist your attempt to breathe into an accusation of neglect. And so you go back, you do what they need. You push yourself again just to prove you're not selfish. But the truth is, they never saw you as a person with limits. They saw you as a solution. A shelter, a self-tapping. Not someone to be loved, but someone to lean on endlessly. And no matter how much you give, it will never be enough. Because people like this don't want a partner. They want a crutch. And if you keep being that crutch, you'll forget how to stand tall for yourself. What you must understand is this. Emotional vampires are not always bad people. They're often deeply wounded. But being wounded doesn't give them the right to wound others. Being hurt is not an excuse to use people. Your compassion cannot become the excuse for someone else's comfort. While you live in discomfort, you deserve a relationship where energy flows both ways. Where love isn't just felt, but shown. Where your voice is heard, your heart is held, and your well-being is just as important as theirs. You deserve someone who checks in on you. Not just checks what they can get from you. Someone who listens, who notices when you're off, who doesn't need to be reminded that your soul needs nurturing, too. But you'll never get that kind of love if you keep tolerating the kind that drains you. You'll never be truly full if you're constantly being emptied by someone who refuses to grow. Because you cannot heal people who don't want to be healed. You cannot save someone who's committed to their chaos. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep someone warm and expect to walk away unburned. And yes, it's hard to let go. Especially when you build an identity around being their strong one, the one who understands, the one who stays. But strength isn't about how much you can endure. It's about knowing when to stop enduring what's killing you. And if someone constantly makes you feel like you're not allowed to be tired, to have needs, to say no, then they're not your person, they're your prison. It's not selfish to want peace. It's not cold to demand respect. It's not rude to protect your boundaries. The people who belong in your life will not punish you for taking care of yourself. They will celebrate it. They will encourage it. Not your energy. With love, not resentment, with effort, not expectation. With balance, not burden. You do not have to carry people just to feel loved. You do not have to fix others to prove your worth. Your role in this life is not to be everyone's savior. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step back and let someone face their own storms. Well, why finally learn to dance in the rain without being soaked in someone else's chaos? You've heard the truth. Now you've seen the patterns, felt the weight of behaviors we should never tolerate. But maybe you're still sitting there thinking, yeah, but what if it's different in my case? What if they change? What if I'm overthinking it? No, you're not overthinking. You're finally seeing clearly. You're not being too sensitive. You've just been conditioned to tolerate insensitivity. You're not too demanding. You've simply forgotten what it feels like to be respected. And I know it's not easy to unlearn the lies you were told. Lies that said love means endurance at all costs. That loyalty means staying no matter how you treated. That silence is strength. But strength isn't how long you can suffer. Strength is knowing when enough is enough. Real power is not in how long you tolerate pain. It's in the moment you say no more. No more giving chances to people who keep proving they don't deserve them. No more carrying guilt for someone else's behavior. No more shrinking to make others feel big. No more pouring into people who never think to refill you. No more mistaking chaos for chemistry or silence for peace. You don't owe your peace to anyone who profits off your pain. You don't have to apologize for expecting the bare minimum. Honesty, respect, kindness, and consistency. You are not hard to love. You are just trying to love in places that were never designed to nourish you. You're trying to bloom in soil that chokes the roots. But you deserve more than survival. You deserve to thrive. Listen to me. You're not broken. You're not dramatic. You're human dramatic. You're human. And your feelings matter. Every time someone speaks down to you, and you feel that knot in your chest, listen to it. Every time you walk away from a conversation feeling less than drained or invisible, honor that feeling. Your body is wise. It tells you what your mind tries to ignore. You don't need louder pain to validate your right to walk away. You don't need more tears to justify your exit. One moment of disrespect is enough, because the second you start accepting less, the world starts offering you less. The moment you let mistreatment slide, you begin to slide too. And slowly peace. By peace you lose your reflection. You forget who you were before they chipped away at your shine. But guess what? You can get that person back. The one who used to laugh freely. The one who spoke boldly. The one who dreamed without hesitation. The one who didn't apologize for their glow. They're still in you. Buried under the weight of everyone you thought you had to please. Everyone you tried to save. Everyone you tried to impress. Everyone who didn't clap when you won, but that version of you, the real you, is waiting. Waiting for you to reclaim your voice. Waiting for you to stop asking for permission. Waiting for you to stop settling for crumbs when you were born to feast. You don't need their validation. You don't need their attention. You don't need their explanation. You only need your decision. The decision to no longer be a background character in your own life. The decision to stop defending people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. The decision to be the hero of your own story, not the casualty in someone else's chaos. I want you to remember something. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. Your silence becomes their license. Your forgiveness becomes their weapon. Your fear of losing them becomes the leash they use to keep you stuck. So, break the leash. Break the cycle. Break the belief that being alone is worse than being mistreated. Being alone with your peace is 1,000 times more powerful than being surrounded by people who make you feel like a stranger in your own skin. And you don't have to wait for rock bottom to make the change. You don't need to be completely shattered to rebuild stronger. You just need to decide right now that your self-respect is not negotiable anymore. Let them call you selfish. Let them say you've changed. Let them roll their eyes when you start setting boundaries. They don't get to define your worth anymore. They don't get to be the editors of your story. Your rule. This is your peace. This is your freedom. And no one, no partner, no friend, no family member gets to keep you in emotional captivity. You are allowed to outgrow people who refuse to grow. You're allowed to leave the table where love is conditional. You are allowed to stop being the emotional punching bag for someone else's unresolved issues. This is the chapter where you stop enduring and start evolving. This is the part where you turn the page. And if your voice shakes when you speak up, that means you're doing something powerful. That means you're taking your power back. Speak even if it cracks. Leave even if it hurts. Choose yourself. Even if it's lonely at first. Because nothing is lonelier than being surrounded by people who make you feel unseen. You weren't born to dim your light just so someone else could feel comfortable in the dark. You were born to rise, to radiate, to reclaim every inch of space that was taken from you. Rise even if your legs tremble. Rise even if your heart is heavy. Rise even if no one is clapping it. Because one day you look back and realize you were simply too powerful for the wrong people. And the moment you stop tolerating what breaks you, the world starts reflecting back what builds you. It starts sending you people who see your soul not as your service. People who pour into you, not drain you. People who match your energy, not mock it, but they only arrive when you clear space. So don't wait. Clear the space. Create the boundary. Make the decision. And let this be the moment where everything changes because you're not just worthy of better. Ready for it? Let me tell you something. You might have forgotten. Along the way. Your life is not meant to be a never-ending apology. You're not here to constantly explain yourself, shrink yourself, or prove your worth to people who refuse to see it. You're not here to carry the weight of people who throw stones. Then ask you why you're bleeding. You're here to live fully, to love freely, and to protect your soul like it's sacred. Because it is. You don't need to keep giving people access to a heart they've only ever mishandled. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone deserves the softest parts of you. Some people only come close to feel important, not to understand you. Some people only want your warmth when their world is cold. But the moment they're back on their feet, they forget who kept them standing. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not family. That's convenience. And you are not here to be convenient. You are not here to be someone's backup plan, their emotional cushion, the silent supporter while they trample your boundaries. You are here to rise, to speak, to stand tall in your truth. Even when your voice wavers and the world tries to talk over you. Because the truth is this. When you tolerate what breaks you, you train the world to think you're unbreakable. And when the world thinks you don't feel, they stop caring when you hurt. But you feel everything. You carry it in silence. You wear it with a smile. But that pain, that exhaustion, that quiet sadness, it's not weakness. It's proof you've been strong for far too long. You've spent enough time dancing around red flags. Enough time overanalyzing messages, reading between lines, making excuses for behavior that would have never needed explaining. Enough time giving people the benefit of the doubt while doubting yourself every single day. Now it's time to switch the narrative. Now it's time to give yourself the same grace, the same compassion, the same patience you've been handing out like candy to people who never even said thank you. It's time to stop expecting closure from people who were never open to begin with. To begin with, it's time to stop begging for loyalty from people who can't even be honest with themselves. It's time to stop making room in your life for people who never had space for your feelings. Let them misunderstand you. Let them mislabel you. Let them believe whatever they want because your truth doesn't require their approval. Your worth doesn't shrink because someone else refuses to see it. Your power doesn't fade because they turned their back on it. Do you know how much energy you wasted trying to fix situations that were never your fault? Trying to heal people who broke you in the process? Trying to make everyone else comfortable while you suffered in silence? That chapter is over now. This new chapter, it starts with boundaries, with standards, with self-respect that's so unshakable. It makes people think twice before they approach you with half-hearted energy and hollow words. You will not be guilt-tripped into staying silent. You will not be manipulated into shrinking. You will not be drained by people who only know how to take. From now on, you walk in rooms knowing who you are. From now on, you speak up. Not because you owe anyone an explanation, but because your silence will no longer be the blanket they wrap themselves in. From now on, you say no. Not because you're cruel, but because your time, your peace, your sanity is a non-refundable investment. You are not available for the games, the gaslighting, the ghosting, the guilt trips, the one-sided relationships, the fake apologies, or the fragile ego that crack the moment you hold up a mirror. You are available for real connection. You are available for people who see your heart and choose to honor it. You are available for the kind of love that doesn't ask you to shrink, settle, or suffer in silence. You're not here to beg for crown. You're here to feast. But first, you must understand this. Healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you, to doubt your worth. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough. Without the title, without the validation, without the likes, without the applause. You've spent years waiting for someone to come save you. But here's the truth. No one's coming. You are the rescue. You are the lifeline. You are the storm in the shelter, the question and the answer. And yes, it will be hard. It will hurt to walk away from what you thought was love. It will sting to set boundaries with people you never imagined living without. It will feel lonely at first. It will feel foreign, but growth always does. Every flower blooms after sharing its petals. Every phoenix rises after the fire. And so will you. You will rise louder, bolder, brighter. You will rise knowing you are not too much. You are just in the wrong room. You will rise knowing your heart is not too soft. It's sacred. You will rise knowing your voice is not too loud. It's liberation. You will rise not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because this isn't about revenge. It's about reclamation. It's about rising. From the ashes of every moment you were made to feel small and saying, this ends with me. I am not here to be tolerated. I am here to be respected. I am not here to survive people's emotional chaos. I am here to live in peace. And I am no longer asking for permission. No, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start showing up for yourself the way you show up for others. One decision at a time. Oh, one day at a time, one breath at a time, one breath at a time. Because the more you honor yourself, the more the world learns how to treat you. And the more you walk away from what doesn't serve you, the closer you get to everything that will, that feeling you seek, the love you crave, the peace you long for. It's waiting on the other side of that brave moment. When you finally say, this is not enough for me anymore. Not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because you finally remember who you are. You are not a placeholder. You are not a second choice. You are not a repair shop for broken people. You are a force, a light, a voice. And from this moment on, you don't shrink for anyone. Not today. Not ever.